like it?
It's intense.
It really is. It gives it a sense of a little more serious than it actually has to be. I like it because the other shows that I do are so over the top, and they're entertainment driven, and not always the kind of entertainment that everybody would find awesome. So so when I get to do like a little more serious stuff, I like to play the serious music.
But this also could be like, it's Wednesday and it's business day.
Happy Hump Day. It sounds like it's a movie. It sounds like a movie trailer. Which, by the way, I don't know if you've seen this or not. I'm not going to ask you because I don't want to put you on the spot. But
do it.
Our show that we have now, we opened up the YouTube channel. Now we have a bunch of videos up there. We're doing the shows, and we had the show where the casts and the producers of Notorious Nick came on with us.
Stop it.
Yeah, so we had Mark S. Allen,
Yeah,
who's
saw
the you saw that?
Yeah.
So and so like we're getting
Teacher's
all these
pet.
new. I know, right?
Here's an apple.
Yeah, we're getting all these new viewers and everything else, and I had to change the music up a little bit because I wanted it to seem a little more on point.
Epic. That's great.
Yeah, way more epic, which it turned out to be super epic. And then we had a nice video yesterday or a couple days ago, where we had like one of the leading models from OnlyFans on. So,
wow,
yeah,
look at you.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah.
I feel honored now.
You should. She was sitting right there, bro.
Yeah.
Did you get a free subscription or something like that?
You know what's funny is when she was sitting here, she said I told her, I said I had to look at your OnlyFans page because it was for research purpose.
Of course.
And she was like, "Did you like it?"
You read Playboy for the articles too.
I do. I didn't even know there was pictures in there for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
So she's like, she looked right at me. She's like, "Did you like it?" And I'm like, I really did, but her husband was sitting next to, and he's like this giant. So I was like, I don't even know, bro. I wasn't even looking at it. I was just reading it. You know what I mean?
Just research.
Oh my gosh!
Research.
By the way, if you do go to our YouTube channel, which is where this show will be as well, you could go to the Podcast Lounge LLC. That's our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe and then hit the little bell so that you can get your little notifications as soon as we have a brand new show, which will happen with this one. And you'll be able to see that last one as well. You'll be able to see how great that one went. But today, it's even more exciting.
Would you like me to undo a button?
I would love for you to do
I would not.
I just want to give people the same level of excitement.
I feel like you should, because Kirk's got the nice legs going and everything.
Yeah.
You got some nice legs, man. What are those runners' legs or bikers' legs?
You know what? They're 54-year-old legs that never ran or cycled before I was 40.
Okay.
The only reason that I was running before that I was 40 was to escape somebody, or if Coach was yelling at me. And other than that, I never ran or.
But this is a
cycled.
signature move. I've seen you at
the shorts and sandals.
Yeah, the shorts and sandals.
Shorts and sandals. That's my thing. That's
everything.
Yeah,
this is my signature outfit.
It is.
By the way,
is.
This is. I've got this is my uniform.
Yeah.
It was my COVID uniform. My fight. Corrupt politicians uniform.
It was.
And it still is.
It is, yeah.
It is. And this was his. So I feel like I won the uniform war.
When I was doing radio for CBS, and they were the club scene was big in Sacramento, and they had just opened up this new club, and they were trying to figure out what they were going to do with it, what was going to be the theme of it, and what was going to be the name. And the guy who owned it, I used to go to all the clubs in just shorts and flip-flops and a T-shirt and a hat. Now, we're not supposed to go there like that, but I was Keith Brooks, so I could do whatever I want. And
you still are.
You were? What are you now?
are.
Now you're Boondocks?
Now I'm Boondock.
Yeah,
so check it out, Boondock the Entertainer Instagram. I'm just under 10,000 followers. I need to get a little bit higher. So then the owner was like, a good buddy of mine, his name's Bob Simpson. He's like, hey man, we're gonna open up this brand new club, and we're gonna make it like a beach theme. Because you always come to the club in shorts and flip-flops, we're going to call it Sandbar. And I'm like, hell yeah, man, let's do this. And then that was Sandbar.
Excellent.
Tell me the life and legacy of Sandbar. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean,
so
it was a nice run while it lasted. Yeah, it was a good 6-month run, man.
Hey, that's huge in the history.
It really is, man. So we are here tonight to discuss a bunch of different things with some important people in the community. So let me introduce them to you real quick. Welcome to our Fearless Political Show. That right across from me is the infamous or famous Kirk Euler. So give it up for Mr. Kirk Euler, everybody. Yes, sir. I know that people know who he is because he's one of our most listened to podcasts that we did, where people were like, "Oh my God, he had so much information," and it was all
I was drinking that day.
Yeah. You got to check and take a swift of that to see what's going on in that cup right there. Although you're training for some kind of,
I am, yes.
Right? What are you training for?
Ironman California.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it'll be my third Ironman. I did Coeur d'Alene in 2017, did Florida in 2019. Yeah. So this will be my third.
This is before he runs for president. So he's just taking like impossible feats.
Yeah, no, I
moving right
agree. Don't tease me.
It's you guys could do it. Believe me when I tell you. If I can do it, you guys could do it.
I did the Epi's Great Race one time.
Yeah. Fell out of your canoe and then I had screw that.
I did the kayak and that was
Rapids took you out.
I was like,
I don't know. Me and my kid had to do like a wheelbarrow race the other day. Yeah, I'm good.
You pulled a hammy on that one.
The Ironman wheelbarrow. Joining us on the couch, Mr. Matt Oliver, who is the owner of Oliver's Brew House. It's Brew House, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I want to make
House
sure.
of Oliver is the marquee.
Well, House of Oliver is the gold standard,
yes.
and then Oliver's Brew House
Yes.
is the recent addition to the Oliver's family. In fact, if you look over there, you can see the hat. You want to grab that hat real quick? It's pretty sick. I wear it at the club. Not that particular one. I bought a different one. But I wear that to the club every now and then. That is the Rebel Restaurant right there. And the reason why it's called that, and the reason why Matt is so well known, not the reason why, but one of the reasons why he's so well known in town.
Because our food is delicious.
Besides
our
the fact that their food is amazing, and they have like the best like wines in any restaurant I've ever actually been to.
Our old fashions flow like the rivers and the fish in the Capistrano. That's all I got.
Capistrano. He's also been a very outspoken member of the community in regards to everything that's been happening over the last 18 months. Really all of your career, but specifically over the last 18 months with COVID, with the shutdowns, with mandates, with all that stuff. He has been a real outspoken leader in the community, which is one of the reasons why people have been so drawn to you and to your restaurants. I hadn't been to House of Oliver's in such a long time because of proximity and everything else, and I went, I think, a few months back, and I was on a date, and as I was on this date with this beautiful young lady, we get this. Some lady comes over. She's like, "Here, these drinks are on that gentleman over there," and they pointed, and it was Kirk and his wife, and I'm like, "Hey, what's happening, man?" It was so cool. So thank you again for that.
You're very welcome. It was fun.
Also, before we get into it, I wanted to thank you too, because the highlight of my career here at the Podcast Lounge so far has been the ability to be able to interview Ronald Reagan's son-in-law,
yes,
which I still brag. Yeah. I try to use it as like a speakeasy. I was telling my mom about, I was like, that's Ronald Reagan's son-in-law, whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's like been a big deal. So thank you so much for that.
You're very welcome. Dennis is a good guy. Dennis Ravel he was married to Ron's daughter, Maureen,
right? Yeah.
And unfortunately, Maureen passed way too young of cancer. But they were constituents of mine when I was on the board the first time. And Maureen was just a great family friend. She and my mom were good friends.
Awesome, man.
And so I got to know them. Unfortunately, I never did meet former President Reagan. My dad worked for him. That's why we were up here in Sacramento. Was my dad worked for
when he was governor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what brought us up here to Northern California.
Wow. And you never had a chance to meet him?
I didn't. No, my two older brothers got to meet him, but I didn't, unfortunately.
See, that's not cool.
But I was blessed enough to have him be my president.
It is.
That's as far as that goes.
I had when I was in elementary and then into junior high. Our family was just a big Reagan supporter, and I had this gigantic, like 11 by 14 picture that was framed of Ronald Reagan when you walk into my bedroom. I was a strange kid. Man.
There you go.
Like,
I was just gonna say, what's that your pinup right there?
That's
no
Reagan.
porn. I wasn't a big porn guy, but Ronald Reagan. I was a big political. I was such a political activist when I was this little kid, getting tossed out of school all the time. I remember we were in high school in my junior year. We were reading this Karl Marx book, and I was furious. And I'm sitting there fuming, and the teacher's reading, and he looks up. He's like, "What, Brooks? What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm not reading this commie crap." And he chucked the book at me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was like,
well, because you
what?
could back then, though.
Yeah.
Teachers could beat kids.
Literally
yeah.
threw the book at you.
Oh yeah, he threw the book at me. I got in when I lived in Arizona for a little while. I got the paddle from the principal one time. Like I was like, "Bro, what is this, man?"
Wow.
But I wouldn't trade it, man. Sometimes I deserve to get paddled up a little bit, but not by
like
that
a
commie
good paddle.
teacher though. That was a different set of circumstances. Anyway, so I want to get into it. A couple of things I want to get into. First and foremost, since it's happening a little more than a month from now, is the recall.
Yeah.
So Kirk, we'll start with you because I don't know what your thought is on the recall. What I thought when it came to the recall was, just like during the presidential election, I'm like, oh, okay, so we can't vote in person. It's going to be all through the mail now. Mm-hmm. So what a convenient situation for them to be able to all of a sudden get these. I mean, I'm a cynic when it comes to voting anyway because of things I've seen over the years with volunteering in different counties and stuff. Now, I did volunteer in Santa Cruz County, which is uber liberal, but I saw some things that just were flat out cheating, and I was discouraged about it. What are your thoughts on the recall, and can you kind of break it down a little bit as far as how it works? Because I've had people say to me, well, we all have to throw all of our support behind Larry Elder, because if we don't, then Gavin Newsom's just going to retain his power. No.
So there are, first of all, you're right. The rules that were in place in the last presidential election are still in place. So every registered voter is going to be mailed a ballot. Now, you can still, depending on what county you're living in, different counties have the ability to conduct their elections how they've set up. In Placer County, there will be in-person voting. If you want to take your ballot to the polling place, mark it there, hand it over there, watch them put it in the machine right there. You can do that. There will also be the drop boxes. Those will be out there. But the biggest potential, unfortunately, for voter fraud is the fact that the zone gets flooded with ballots. Because I can tell you on any given election who's going to show up and vote. We have voter propensity based on your voting history that tells us whether or not you're actually going to vote. So if I know that Matt Oliver is a schlub and never votes, well, then I'm going to be knocking on Matt's door and I say, hey, you got a ballot in the mail. You don't really need it. Why don't you just give it to me and I'll take it for you and all the rest. And so that's how the ballot harvesting really comes into play and gets maximized. So yes, every registered voter is still going to be mailed a ballot. How you vote it and how you get it back will depend on how your county has set up their elections. Some of them will just have receiving centers. Some will actually have polling places. If your ballot gets lost in the mail and you need to go to a polling place, you can do that. Now, as far as the actual question, the ballot and the ballot question, the way the recall works is there are two separate questions on the ballot. The first question is, should we throw this loser out of office? That's the question.
Heck yeah.
Just got to remember the first one is yes.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And then the second ballot question, regardless of how you answer the first.
So even if I vote no,
correct,
I mess up and I vote no on the first one,
or your lobotomy was successful and you vote no on the first one,
or if I vote not at all on the first one,
you can leave it blank.
I can still vote.
You
on
can
the
vote on the
second.
Yes,
one.
you can. Yes, you can. And Democrats did a really good job of not getting a named Democrat on the ballot.
Even though this Kevin Kevin, Kevin dude.
Yes.
I hear he's rising in the ranks.
And I saw his name appear on a poll that a Berkeley outfit did, and he actually, unfortunately, was a point or two ahead of Elder. But it's very interesting. Now, Governor Mussolini there is running around saying that he doesn't want people to even vote a secondary choice, right? So even if they vote no,
behind that?
It's a great question. I don't think it's wisdom. I think it is the petulant child in him coming out. I think because if you look at this guy, Kevin, whatever,
Kevin
two T's in his name or something, I don't know. Anyway, I don't remember his name. But I went and looked at his website. When I saw his name show up on that poll, I went and looked at his website. Dude, you'd think it was my website. He hammers Mussolini on his website, mostly on the economic stuff, right? Mm-hmm. He sticks to the economics because he fancies himself a financial advisor.
And he's a fiscal conservative. Yeah. I mean, he's registered as a Democrat.
That's what he says. Yeah. And whether he is or not, I don't know. But all I can say
is... There's only one Kevin I'm voting for.
Right, exactly. I get you.
Kevin Kiley, just saying.
I think it's very interesting that Newsom is saying don't vote at all. I think that drives down participation by his folks.
Agreed.
Yeah. So
because the people on the other side are super motivated.
Yeah.
And I've said this before. I didn't go and sign the recall. I saw the tables out here and everything else. It was when my daughter and I were down in Santa Cruz County surfing down by the point, and just before we went down to the point, there was a table set up with these two liberal ladies for the Democratic Party
in Santa Cruz.
Wow! And then when we got, I signed it there. We went down, we went and surfed, and we came back. We were out there for the night in Capitola. We walked around the Capitola Village, and almost every store in the Capitola Village had a sign that said "Recall Newsom."
Wow!
That is a liberal. Nightmare in Capitola. So, it's not. It isn't. The commercials crack me up. How on earth he got Pocahontas to do the commercial? That's it.
Right.
It's like.
No. Actually, they were gonna get. Kamala. Which one am I supposed to say so I'm not racist?
I think you're supposed to call her Kamala?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Ms. Harris. Yeah.
I call her Ms. Bully Brown.
They were going to bring her out here to campaign.
She is not doing hot.
No, they decided that wasn't going to help.
Yeah, she's not doing hot. Her star has faded extremely fast.
The star was bad.
But she solved the border crisis.
That's true.
Yeah, okay.
She did do that.
She solved the border crisis. She did do that. Right?
Just let them all in.
I feel kind of...
That's a solution. You may not like it, but
I do find it fascinating that she was all about that Me Too, believing Tara Reid and just hammering Joe Biden until she became his plus one. So okay, so I'm hearing you say that Kevin Kiley is your guy, which Kevin Kiley is my guy too. So I'm excited. Here's what I saw in one of the Recall Newsom Facebook pages that has remarkably hasn't been taken down yet. Somebody was saying inside the comments that we can't split up the votes like this, because if we don't go and we don't fall behind one particular candidate, then he won't. Then Gavin Newsom's going to retain his power anyway. But from what I know and what you just said, if what is it, over 50%? If they say yes,
50%,
he's going to get replaced anyway.
He's out
of voters of whoever actually votes,
shows up and votes.
And here's the beautiful thing:
votes.
There are people voting, and I've talked about this with a lot of people. There are a huge majority of Democrats, liberals, independents voting in this election, and they're voting against Newsom. And the way they're voting is by not voting at all. Mm-hmm. And they could care less. They have no care for him. He didn't help him. Now, they're not behind a Kevin Kiley or an Elder or whoever we're behind, or a Kevin whoever. They're just not for Newsom. They're not going to take one more second out of their day to fill out one more piece of paper. They've been applying for unemployment. Right. They've been getting on the phone. They've been trying to do that. They're doing everything they know what to do. They're not giving him one more second.
Yeah.
And that's the way he's getting voted out. They don't care.
Well, until the ballot harvesting drill kicks in.
Well,
That's what I'm worried about.
I just wonder, that's if he retains power, it's because they learned in the last 2 elections how to effectively do the ballot harvesting.
Wait, now he's been saying lately, and I saw him come unglued during a press conference.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah.
So good.
It felt good because I've seen him do it in San Francisco before too, where a reporter would come in and ask him a question. He just cannot stand to be asked
He's
a question.
the petulant child.
Yeah, he is such a child.
He is.
It must
awesome
be
to
the
see them.
drugs that are talking. I don't know what it is, but so he loses it a little bit, and then there's other people that say behind the scenes that he's got some real fear. Is it just staged fear because he knows they're gonna
No, he's afraid.
He is not showing confidence in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
And that the little press interactive to which you're referring.
So good.
Man, that was not somebody who feels like he's in control of his environment.
Right.
Well, and here's what's beautiful, what's happening right now. What the Democrats need on the national stage does not help Newsom on the statewide stage. He needs California right now to open.
That's right.
He needs California to succeed. He needs it to be
Stop burning.
Yeah, he needs
ever gonna stop
some
that?
wins, and he gets no wins because nationally it doesn't play well.
Well, and why today, of all things, your biggest power base is the public employees and the teachers unions. And today he comes out and mandates that all teachers and all school employees get vaccinated.
He thinks the teachers are behind the unions. He doesn't realize he's not like us, boots on the ground, where he realizes the teachers have no choices.
Exactly.
There's no other option. Same thing in the medical. He thinks everybody who's a nurse or a doctor is just going on with the CDC. He doesn't realize. I have a buddy. He's a CEO of a local hospital. They're not behind this CDC stuff. They don't buy this vaccine as the cure-all. They have all sorts of issues, all sorts of questions. He knows that masks do nothing.
Yeah.
Zero, zilch, nada. It's a badge of honor to whatever degree to let people know, hey, I care, I guess.
Virtue signal. It's a virtue signaling red flag. It literally does nothing, and all the science backs that up. There's not a single shred of science that backs up the.
You want to see, since we referenced, you want to see some data?
Yes, just as much as I like your legs, your science is so sexy.
Oh, thank you, baby. Thank you. Thank you, Matt Oliver.
This is one of the reasons why I love having Kirk on, because he has all the information.
This is fun because it goes right.
Like he says, this is fun.
No, this is fun. I dig this stuff. I get all of Twitter. The assertion is we had flu evaporate. Why? Because people started wearing masks and washing their hands and socially distancing. So we had the flu evaporate because of that. And so I just wanted to show that the flu, in fact, what's really interesting, you can do this. And the website, by the way, you feel free to play along at home. It's very simple. It's cdc.gov/flu/weekly/index HTTP. And that's it. And so it'll. Do
you need me to hold any of those for
no,
you?
I don't. So here's what's going on. So in this is the 2017. This is week 1 of January of 2018. So the flu season starts October, goes through September. Okay. Right. So it's called the 17-18 flu season, but this is week 1. This is the first week in January. And see all the red? Red is bad. Yeah. Red is high. Anything red going all the way down to green, green is good. Green is very light occurrences. So you see all the red, all the red that's in here. This is the first week in January in 2018. You see how much flu we had.
Right.
Here's the first week in January in 2019. Not as bad as 2018, but still a lot of flu. Here's the first week in January in 2020. How bad was 2020? Wow. So bad they actually had to invent a new color.
Oh, wow.
Red purple was the worst color. They went to like a blue, purple, whatever the hell this
When
thing
I get
is,
spanked, when you go from red to purple, you just went another level.
Yes, you did.
So what happened in 2021? So we go from like, God, you're dead, to 2021.
Wow.
Garden of Eden.
Wow, the new Green Deal. Look at that.
There's no flu anywhere in the country. Now, here's what's really fun. You can go on this website And on this website, you can actually press play and it will take you week by week. And you do all these years and go week by week, and you'll see a brief period, July, August, September, where the flu kind of goes away and most of the map starts looking like this.
Yeah.
Okay? On no map or on no year do you ever see this in January or February. You go to this year, 2021, actually it starts 1920, because the CARES Act passed the 12th week of 1920. And what happened to the CARES Act? The CARES Act provided an additional 30% federal subsidy for Medicare patients who are diagnosed with COVID instead of the flu.
Yeah.
And you hit play on, and you can actually do this right at home. You hit play. This sucker is green all the way through.
You're talking about 2020, right?
2020 and 2021. You do not see red anywhere.
You know why it's green?
Anywhere.
It's because it's green for money.
For money,
That's what
all
they
the way through.
made.
But here's the real point. Here's the real point. So you listen to the mask Nazis, right? They say, well, we're like this because people were masking, social distancing. Oh, really? This is January 9th of 2021. The map looked like this. January 8th of 2021, the United States recorded the most coronavirus cases in the entire epidemic. Oh, wow. January 8th, the day before, this map saying we solved the flu because of masks and everything. Mm-hmm. The next day, we recorded 300,777 cases in the U.S. of COVID. The same time we're saying masks wiped out the flu. Wow, congratulations. Evidently, they don't do a damn thing for COVID.
Yeah.
Because the same time they wiped out the flu, we had the highest COVID cases.
It's so funny, too, because it's right there for you to see. If the mask, I posted this the other day. It was a little line that I got from the movie Moneyball, and I love it. It's like, the Brad Pitt character. He's like, if he's a good hitter, how come he doesn't hit good? So I said on there, I'm like, if the masks work, then how come they're not working?
That's it.
It's like, what are you talking about?
That's it.
Working in EMS, having to go through virology classes and epidemiology and all these different things we have to go through, we've been told from the very, very beginning, for the last few years that I've had any sort of involvement in medical at all, that, the mask does absolutely nothing as far as, and then I had one of my daughter's teacher was screaming at her one day because she's like, well, if the surgical masks don't work, then how come people use them for surgeries? And I'm like, because they're using them for surgeries. It's a surgical mask to keep from spitting into an open wound to create bacteria. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Teacher?
Oh my God.
Can we start there?
Out of all the teachers that my daughter has at her school, up there at the high school, I won't mention, but it rhymes with Ponderosa. It's like there's actually some really good ones, and there are actually some conservative teachers up there. But there's a handful of super uber liberal lunatic virtue signaling crazies out there, and they're just trashing the kids. If they don't, follow if they don't conform. My daughter, who's very, very shy, decided on the last day of school last year with about 8 of her friends to wear Trump 2020 shirts to the school. Wow. So at least she was like trying to fight back a little bit, but they do this, which brings me to the next thing. Now they're saying that there's the mask mandate for the kids, right? So indoors they have to have the mask. Up at Pondo, they're not making them wear it during PE, which they did last year, which I went berserk up at the front office.
Now, can you get a doctor's note to get your child not to wear a mask?
So my daughter said that there was a couple of people that do that, but the teachers and the faculty have basically berated them.
Bullies.
Yeah, they're bullying them into this, and I keep trying to tell her, and I said, look, you can look at this. I don't make this stuff up. The reason I believe the way I believe is because I actually research and look at data and facts and history, and the facts are in front of your face. I'm not one of those people who will blindly conform to stuff. Obviously, you two are exactly the same.
Which, just to take a moment to go back, my child told me the other day, Dad, don't you wish like you were in high school again and this was going on? Because you would have been epic. And I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you going, man, but you know what they've done? They've destroyed like a level of masculinity.
Oh, yeah.
And
oh, yeah.
they've brought it down to where there is a level of just compliance.
Yeah.
I'm going in the grocery store the other day. I saw a dad, looked much like us, going in with his 3 kids, teenage kids. All 3 of his kids threw a mask on.
Yeah.
As they walked in. And I'm looking at this dad going, dude, what the heck, bro? Like, where did you drop the ball on teaching your kids to backbone this thing up?
I'm so glad that you said that. I've been saying this to my my business partner, and who also has a daughter, and to friends of mine. It appears as though everywhere I go, the adults no mask, the teens masked up to the brim, almost all the way up past their eyes.
Yeah,
like I saw 2 of them. They had mom and dad. They were all eating ice cream. They had 3 teenage kids with them. The teenage kids barely had the mask down enough to shove the ice cream in their mouth. Yeah. And the whole time I was thinking, bro, this is your opportunity as a parent to show some backbone and to let them see some leadership.
Yeah,
you know, and they just won't.
Man.
Yeah. At the very, very least, can a man stand up and actually take care of his kids and give them the ability to think for themselves at the very least?
But what you're talking about is exactly the danger of the forced conformity in our schools. Yeah. That even in the presence of their parents and away from school, they have been so indoctrinated that you have to have this thing on your face. You know, funny you guys should go down this road, because guess what I have? Data.
What?
I have more data.
No way.
Go figure.
I love
it. That I would have more data. So when we're talking about our school age kids, and this is California data, and I have it nationally as well. So we're talking about our school age kids. Our school age kids represent about 510,000 of the cases that we have had in California. So about 510,000 under 18 as of August 4th. Okay.
Yeah.
About 510,000 cases. A grand total of 30 deaths.
Yeah.
So statistically insignificant.
With COVID.
Exactly.
With COVID.
So statistically insignificant that even on the state of California's own chart, they show percentage of deaths 0.0 for everyone under the age of 18.
Wow. Everyone
under the age of 18 is 0.0. Now, understand that 22% of the state of California is under the age of 18.
Yeah, I heard that.
20, it's right here. 16.7 plus 5.8, that's 5 years old to 17 years old and under 5. That's add those 2 percentages together, and you're at 22.5% of the California population.
Wow.
So 1 in 5 of us is under the age of 18 in California, and we are none of the deaths.
Yeah, exactly.
And these are the people who have to get put on freaking masks.
I know.
In school. Are you kidding me?
Dude.
Now, let's get to the teachers.
Yes.
So according, again, more data.
This is why I have them on.
You can't let data. You can't use facts.
According to the National Center for Education Statistics, the average age of a teacher in the United States is 42.4 years old. California, it's a little bit older, 44.5. Okay, let's go back and revisit these numbers, and let's go up to include all the way up to the average age of the public school teachers, okay? When you go up to include the age 45, that takes you all the way up to the age of 50. So that represents almost 70% of all cases in the state of California have been in that age group, below the age of 50, almost 70% of all cases. Total deaths, 6.9%.
That's unbelievable.
70% of the cases, 6.9% of the deaths. So just that one age group, where the teachers fall, 35 to 49-year-old age group. State of California's own. I printed this today. It's dated as of last week because they lag a little bit. That's okay.
It's California, bro.
Exactly.
It is. Yeah.
So State of California's website, 927,000 people in that age category, or 927,000 cases, 927,000 cases just in that age category, a grand total of 3,500 dead.
Wow.
That's it.
And
yet you're going to jam all those people like you did today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he did today. He just required everybody who works at a school, the freaking custodian who doesn't show up until after the kids are gone.
Yeah.
The custodian's got to be vaccinated. What the hell?
So let's ask this question. And you know, you guys are brilliant guys. At some point, and I don't know why no one's saying this, but what is the end game? Because it doesn't go away. People keep wanting to compare it to smallpox and polio. It's not smallpox or polio. No. This is like the flu. It is a respiratory
Except the flu's
virus.
gone. Well, because Max fixed that.
Money. It's a respiratory virus. It's not going away. And even the flu shot does not, you know, what's the percentage? You have like, it's only 60% effective maybe on a good day.
The one time that I got flu really bad was directly after I got the flu shot, because up until a couple of years ago, I never got the flu shot. This is a virus.
You're really old.
It's true. Viruses don't just, I mean, they're not going to be like, oh no, not a mask. Like they just don't, they don't go away. Right. They don't, virus. That's what they do. This one got a jump start in the sense that it appears now that it was manufactured in a lab, right? It's all of the evidence is starting to show now that that's where it was. And so it got a head start, whereas a lot of viruses start in animals.
Trump was right when he called it the China flu?
Which is funny because everything that he actually talked about that we were getting banned off social media for is now becoming, and it's not because Trump's some lunatic, it's because he thinks the way we do. It's like, hey, listen, if I see something that doesn't look right, I'm going to say something about it.
Exactly. If I see that a pile of dog poop outside has been stepped in and I'm inside and I smell it, I might want to check my own damn shoes.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. So the virus will virus. It's not going anywhere. Masks aren't going to stop it. I heard Fauci say one day, zero COVID. Bro, zero COVID's never going to happen.
Never.
It's never going to happen.
Except for if you're in New Zealand with like 5 people living on your island and you could keep everybody off your island. And if you cook the books and cook the numbers and change everything, then maybe possibly, if you have $1 billion, maybe you can move in there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, while that's going on, what's been happening with our kids? Well, let's see.
Don't make me cry.
Yeah. You want to see what drug overdose deaths did?
Yeah, let's look at that because that's actually really important.
Our drug overdose deaths went from 2016 to 2017. They increased by 11%. From 2017 to 2018, they actually dropped 4%. Then they bounced back up a little bit. They bounced up 5%. From 2019 to 2020, they went up 30%.
Wow.
We went from 71,000 drug overdose deaths in 2019 to 92,000 overdose deaths. Those are just the drug overdoses. Those aren't suicides.
Yeah, those are just deaths.
Those are also not the attempted suicides, which have no record, never get reported. Right. And I dealt with this year. Some people know that I'm a pastor and I'm working with families. I dealt this year with more families that dealt with attempted suicides and kids losing their mind. And right now, people, I had somebody say, you know, these parents are messing with their kids, trying to keep schools with masks. They just need to let kids be kids. They don't realize kids are leading this charge.
Yeah.
My son, at 16 years old, is leading a charge of saying, I am not going to be masked.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be muzzled. I'm not going to be silent. I'm not going to get a vaccine. It's not going to happen.
That's what it's going to take.
My daughter, she was at UC Davis, and UC Davis comes out and says, we're requiring a vaccine. My daughter didn't ask me, Dad, what should I do? My daughter didn't say, hey, I need some advice. This is what or what do you think? My daughter had already dropped out of UC Davis, signed up, got a new school that didn't require a vaccine, already enrolled, and she informed me, Dad, by the way, this is what I did because I'm not doing that. And no one's going to force me to get this vaccine. And I'm so proud of my kids, like stepping up. I think people don't realize there are young people leading the charge, even though we have a lot of them that have, you know, society has beat them and bullied them down. I think we have young people leading the charge for change.
Yeah, and that's what it's going to take. And a lot of it's people who have parents who think outside the box and who do have that backbone, which is good. Speaks a lot to you. And, you know, working in EMS, we're going to take a quick break, but working in EMS, I was talking to a couple of hospitals where we were taking into emergency rooms, and then sometimes after the patients, they go through and they've attempted suicide or whatever, we have to take them to a mental hospital, and at least for a 72-hour hold. Right. And we tried to take to different ones in Sacramento, and a couple of them said, listen, we're up like 1,500%, 17 and under attempted suicide. So we would have to take them to like Arizona or Southern California, just because they were too full here, and you can see it in their eyes. And the second you walk into these places, they're screaming at you to put the mask on. They're putting the temperature thing in your face, and I'm like, dude, it's a virus. Will you just chill out? And so there's a lot I want to talk about in regards to that and how we can fight back as well, because that's one of the things that people are getting really freaked out about. Is we know what the bad stuff is. How can we do something to combat it? We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Kirk Euler. We've also got my man Matt Oliver in the house on Fearless Politics. Keep it right here. Back at it. Fearless Politics. Boondock here with you, and that is Matt Oliver right there, and that is Kirk Euler right there. And we've been talking about all of the things that a lot of really good, strong American individuals have been talking about over the last few months or so. Certainly over the last few months, people like myself, and I know Matt and Kirk, have been talking about these issues for the past 18 months. But people now, I think when they first started off with COVID and all the lockdowns and everything else, we didn't know exactly what was going on. We didn't know a lot about Fauci and things like that. And so I think people were quick to kind of capitulate to all this stuff. And then we started realizing that it was a little obnoxious, and they were being and the science didn't add up. Things didn't add up. You were always doing your videos where you were showing actual data, and I know that woke a lot of people in Placer County up, and that's how I found you, was watching your videos, and then I would take little notes so that I could come on the show and talk about them. So I was stealing your stuff.
Good with that. It's all in the public domain anyway.
And so, now here we are 18 months later. Forced vaccinations. I want to talk about it for a second. Is it legal? Can it be changed? Is there anything we can do to fight against it? But I had somebody that was gonna come on, and he's a pro-vaxxer. Now, I want people to understand I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I think there's been a lot of good vaccines out there. I'm just like Matt said earlier when we were off camera, you're just pro-choice when it comes to vaccines, man. And I'm the same. I mean, what happened to all you pro-choice people? Like, I thought it was a thing. So, like,
what's wild with it is as a pastor, these people who are like, my body, my choice,
right,
forever, and like screaming at me, and I'm like, hey, I get it. Okay, okay. Now all of a sudden, not my body, my choice.
Exactly.
And they like to use this seatbelt thing at me, like, well, we wear a seatbelt, and the seatbelt's like law, and it keeps you safe. I went live the other day, and I'm like, you realize that the seatbelt, it took them 100 years since the seatbelt was invented before the seatbelt was law in the state of California.
Really?
100 years. Wow. It talks about levels of decapitation and crushing, ribs and breaking collarbones, and before they figured it out. And what's wild with this vaccine, like, if you just want to take a heart, like blood pressure medication, just to make you a little happier, a little zippier in your day, they're going to give you after the end of watching like people frolic through grass and like play frisbee with their dog and like, you know, drink a nice glass of wine, a house of like after the end of that, then they're going to give you a whole list of things that this might do.
That's right.
This one little zippy pill just to make your blood pressure just slightly better. They're going to tell you this may cause like anal leakage. It might cause your leg to fall off. It might cause you to have insomnia and schizophrenia and all this stuff just to give you like a zip in your day. But this vaccine,
by God, don't question it. Just take it.
no, it doesn't do anything wrong. Pregnant women can take it. 1-year-olds, 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter who you are, what your conditions are. We don't even ask what it does.
That's right.
It's not, no, let's just shove this thing in your body. Let's put it in our kids. Let's put it in our grandparents. And I'm sitting there, you know, my family, my wife and my daughters, they have a blood condition which affects blood clots.
My daughter too.
Okay, which this virus has an issue with.
Yeah.
Which this vaccine. So my daughter's doctor told her, don't take the vaccine because what you're struggling with is directly influenced by what this vaccine does or what we think we know it might possibly could do to you. Right. It's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
Not worth the risk.
My daughter has the same thing. It's called Klippel-Trenaunay syndrome. It's a blood clotting disorder. She clots.
You're like a real dad. Like you knew this stuff.
He's a medic.
She also like she has a you know about this. So do you know what the D-dimer test is? So the D-dimer test, they check, and that D-dimer is what tells you what your blood clotting is. You know, most people are in the hundreds. My daughter is it stops counting after 4,000, and she's over 4,000.
Yeah.
So she clots. Like we have to watch her. She takes Lovenox shots in her tummy, which is a blood thinner, twice a day, and I had to do it for a couple of years, which was heartbreaking for me. And my daughter would pretend like it didn't hurt because she knew that it broke my heart. But it's like I'm not gonna. And it's not just my daughter. It's little girls and little boys like her who are approaching 15, 16, 17 years old or younger. I don't want to put them through that. And the theory that I've come up with, by the way, your seatbelt analogy is hilarious. People said the same thing about the mask as well. They're like, well, we put a mask. Okay, but you don't wear your seatbelt into Target. So stop with the nonsense, right?
You got those seatbelt like belts, you know, that were really hot when we were like 14.
That's true. That's true.
That. Hot topic.
I have figured out why, at least from what I have gathered, you know, we had this guy that was going to come in and he was going to debate me on the vaccine mandates and debate me on vaccines. He called last second and couldn't make it because he was unavoidably detained. Which
that's how I made it on the show, by the way. Thank you. So glad. Which
is like the second or third time that's happened, right? Because these people deal in emotion, not fact. So this is what they got. And I the reason why I think people don't jump to the vaccines is not because they're afraid of the vaccine or because they're anti-vaxxers or anything like that. Besides the fact that they want to do their due diligence to see what the long-term effects are, they also have been dealing with this crap for 18 months. They shut their businesses down. You know about stuff like this. They shut their kids out of school. They've been told to wear masks, and most of these people have complied to an extent. And now they're saying they must take these vaccines, and I think that's where people have finally drawn the line. Said we've got to take a stand at some point. On top of that, you've got leaders in the country and in the state mocking, marginalizing, and bullying people who don't take the vaccine. You've had incoherent leadership. You've had flip-flopping, and so, of course, any rational thinking human being is going to take a step back, even those who have taken the vaccine, and say, I at least want to walk this out a little bit to see where we are. So that's why I think people haven't really jumped towards the vaccines. So when Biden is watching this and Newsom is watching this, because I know you will, because Newsom follows me because I know he wants to see me naked. Like, these guys, I know what happens. You guys need to pay attention. If you continue to stand on your...
part of the show? I didn't know that was part of the show.
If you continue to stand on your mountain and crap on people who don't think like you, you are never going to win them over.
You brought up something else, and I want to get to more data. I gave you California's numbers and the fact that those under the age of 18 in California comprise about 500,000 of the cases and a grand total of 30 deaths. Well, nationally, what you need to know is that those under the age of 18 nationally, we had a grand total of 354 deaths in all of 2020 and into 2021 that are with COVID. 354. Now, at the same time, we had 52,318 under the age of 18 who died of something else.
Yeah.
So you had 354.
Well, we should tackle that something else too.
354. You know how many died of pneumonia in that same time period? 3 times as many.
Are you serious?
Under the age of 18, we had 859 people under the age of 18 die of pneumonia, 354 die of COVID, and all we're talking about is you got to go vaccinate your kid.
Yeah.
It does not add up.
Move up to 18 to 29-year-olds. It's still more deaths from pneumonia than from COVID. Where you break even is right around 30 to 39. And from that point on, it's within a few percentage points of the number. There have been, as we all know, 610 since the start of COVID, 610 COVID deaths they've attributed to COVID. Let's put it that way, right? Uh-huh. Deaths they've attributed. Whether it actually was or not, we won't get into that debate right now. But 610,000. 552,000 pneumonia deaths.
Wow.
Almost as many pneumonia deaths
as they could muster up and draw in to COVID.
And we shut down all of our businesses in California because of pneumonia, right? We shut down our schools. We shut down our schools because we had 30 kids under the age of 18.
And what makes up and I think that the number I heard, and this is under the age of 18, right?
Right.
I had heard that the number of 18 and under in this country was somewhere around 75 million, right? That's what I heard.
Well, if California is a fair representation, California is 22.5% of our population, but I think we're a little high.
Yeah, it is. It's a relatively younger.
So let's say it's 20%. So 320 million people. 20% of that is what 6.4 million.
Is that a math
640 million.
I don't
64 million people.
60. Okay, so let's say it's 64 million and 300. Now, look, I'm not suggesting that. I don't want to do the liberal thing where like every life matters. Yes, they do matter, but so do numbers. Yeah. You have to look at these things. You have to look at them from 10,000 feet. You can't put you can't get so close to it that you don't see.
Well, and the fact that we just are handling them all different.
Yes,
the fact that we're saying this trumps car accidents, this trumps lightning
mitigated
strikes,
risk,
this trumps pneumonia, this trumps everything else that's ever gone on in the history of the world.
That's right. 354 kids under the age of 18 died of COVID, while 52,318 died from something else.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Let's shut down the damn school.
Yeah,
so
we
why
haven't
do we
shut
do
anything else down.
Why do we do it?
Power.
Newsom's told us power, control.
Yep.
Power.
That's
control.
It. Yep.
Power.
So that
control.
actually, it's you teased earlier. What can we do about it, right?
Yeah, because that's because if I talk to people about it.
He also teased about taking off his clothes.
He did do that. I'm hoping we get to the solutions and not to the nakedness.
I talk about stuff on my social media all the time, and I use sarcasm a lot because I know that people can relate to that.
Works. Yeah.
And so I sometimes feel like I get a little dark on these things, and not so much of what can we do to resolve it, which is something that you have actually done. You've done things to help resolve it. When we were shutting down and you stayed open and you kept your employees working, and I think that's why so many people, one of the reasons why so many people started to follow you and it just felt like they had a partner in you where you were like standing up for people.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's call their bluff.
Yeah.
Let's stand up. Let's fight back, which I'm seeing it with doctors. The other day we had thousands. I kid you not. What I thought was going to be 20 people in front of a Kaiser hospital turned out to be thousands. The sea of humans was overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I'm walking in front of Kaiser Hospital, and they have doctors coming out, nurses coming out. I saw a woman screaming in a doctor's face about why he should force people to take vaccines. But you know what? People are calling their bluff.
Yeah.
They're standing up. They're fighting back. And we're willing to risk it all because one of my favorite movies, Braveheart, which is very fundamentally historically accurate.
Yes.
Braveheart would
Even
talk
though it's
about,
Scottish and we're Irish.
we're Irish.
Yeah.
But, there's a kilt involved in accents
true. Good
and
point.
stuff. It's cool. And a lot of drinking. But, all men die, but not all men truly live.
Yes.
Like, we've got to live. People keep coming at me like, well, what if we die?
100%.
Listen, you died 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You died in your marriage. You died in your job. You died in your relationship. You died in your dreams and your pursuit. How about wake up this morning and live for something?
I'm glad you said that because, and I want to get to what we can do about this, Kirk, and we got about 8 minutes left. But I talk to my daughter about it all the time. I'm like, look, every time you get up, if your heart decides, I'm not feeling it today, then you're dead, right? And that happens. I see it in my line of work all the time. If you get in your car, there's just risks with life. But if you live your life like that, you never live.
That's right. That's right.
And you cannot live like that. And these clowns know it as well.
That's right.
It has nothing to do with science or medical. They are trying to take power and control so that they can slide these weird CRT and everything else in there. So what is some of the things that we can do?
Well,
Kirk?
no, just to that point, I'm glad you brought that up, is when we look at these numbers, we just identified that it's approximately 60 million people in America under the age of 18, and I guarantee you 100% of them will die.
Mm-hmm. I told my daughter that
at some
too.
point.
I told my daughter that too. 100%.
I guarantee you 100% of them, but how many of them will actually live?
100%.
How many of them are we letting live right now and enjoy their youth? One of the videos that I did that had no data, the only one that I've ever done that had no data, was me standing on the school grounds of my elementary school.
Yeah.
And I went building by building, sports field by sports field.
Did you talk about your friends?
And
the
I
people you
shared
grew
a
up
memory
with? Yes.
of here's that building, first grade class. That's where I used to sneak candy into Kirsten Evans' desk. That field, or that field, third or fourth grade. That's where Mike Mussolino and Jeff Gallagher collided at first base and sent Moose to the hospital with a concussion. He went on to play AAA baseball. That field over there. That's where I broke my nose. So but these are the memories.
Mm-hmm.
I stand on it. What are the memories that our kids are going to have?
That's what I'm saying. And the crazy thing is that when I was growing up, and we're roughly the same age, it's we had.
Oh, I'm much older than you.
Well, not that much older.
You both are so old.
We had things. We had Ebola, and we had diseases, and we had mumps, and we had measles, and we had all these things.
We had barbed wire. We had barbed wire. We had pocket knives that we took to school.
Yes, we did.
We had all kinds of stupid shit
that
today you can't do. But you know
Your
what?
schools
Here
were
we
so
are.
Here we are, and we were better people
you
for
want
it.
to see the scar on my thumb where I cut myself because of a food fight of all the silly things.
I love it.
I mean, but we lived, and we have memories, and we have friendships, and we have a generation of kids that are growing up staring at a screen. And what did we all complain about before COVID? Get your nose out of your damn phone.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And now we're forcing them right into it.
Now you get your nose in the damn screen.
Between the mask mandates, the potential for forced vaccinations now, even on young people, like my daughter who's got a condition, what is it that these parents can do to try and combat this?
Go at your locally elected representatives. Start with your cities and counties. If they declared a state of emergency, they must undeclare the local state of emergency. We did it in Placer County back in August, September of last year, and our public health officer resigned because of it. Good. She immediately took a job in Yolo County, where their case rate and their death rate per 100,000 is higher than Placer County since she got there.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. we are under, in California, we are under Newsom's thumb. He's under Newsom's thumb as with his ABC
that his
license.
Thumb? It seems so small. I thought it was something else.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
I guarantee it.
What I was under.
So anyway, he is able to put the screws to guys like this because of the state licensing that's required. He's able to do that under the declared state of emergency. As long as we still have cities and counties across the state that have their active state of emergency and haven't rescinded it. Right. Now, bear in mind, every single county and city that declared a state of emergency did so for one reason. They were afraid we were going to overwhelm the healthcare system.
Right.
We haven't.
Yeah. And we won't.
So you can't stay in a perpetual state of emergency on a false premise.
Yes, we can.
On a false premise.
We will show you.
So here's what we need. We need a majority of the counties to rescind, because then we have good legal ground to go at Newsom's declared statewide state of emergency and say, if you have over half of your state that has said we are not in a state of emergency, by definition, you can't be in a statewide state of emergency.
Then that is what everybody can do.
That's it.
Go to your local representatives, talk to them about this, tell them to end the state of emergency. Go to your school boards, show up, be respectful, don't be a moron. But I mean, there are parents, they're not being morons. These parents are they are heated for reasons. And I actually am very proud of a lot of these parents because they're able to keep their cool. Me, I start shaking and get really pissed off. So it's best. My daughter's mom's always like, let me just go do it. But do what you can, show up, and make your voice heard, because you know what? The tide is starting to change a little bit. I can feel it, and I didn't feel it 18 months ago. I didn't feel it a year ago. I didn't even feel it 6 months ago. I'm starting to feel it now.
100%.
I really appreciate you guys. Kirk Euler, my man, Matt Oliver, who has been a big supporter of us, both of you have, and you guys have been so quick to come on and share your stories with us and help the people that listen to this show. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for coming on. And I want to let everybody know you can check us out on our YouTube channel. You'll be able to see this show as where you're watching it now, I assume. I could tell you how to get to YouTube, but if I have to explain to you how to get to YouTube, you probably should be at home resting. So our YouTube channel is the Podcast Lounge LLC. Subscribe, hit the little bell so that you can get notified when we have a new episode. Spotify and iTunes, you go to the Boondock Underground, you can hear all of our shows on audio only, but make sure you get to our YouTube channel because that's where the fun content is. For Kirk Euler and my man Matt Oliver, I am Boondock. Thank you for hanging out. For Fearless Politics, we will talk to you again soon. I'm out. Oh, and make sure you check out Matt Oliver's House of Oliver and Oliver's Brew House as well. Mwah, fantastic. He even brought his own wine this time. And I'm doing the NASCAR thing. So, all right, I'm out.